Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And yes, we're going to be looking finally at, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, the Raseiniai BT-7A. The BT-7A is what I'm going to call it. And this should have gone up yesterday, and I do apologise. I'm actually recording it today, Monday. I'm going to hopefully upload it this afternoon, and then you'll have another video for this evening to make up for yesterday. I've had a bit of an upset stomach yesterday. I'm not quite sure what caused it, so hence no video. So that's why I'm doing it today. Anyway, yes, free tank, tier 3, light tank from Wargaming. And thank you very much, Wargaming. Not to sound ungrateful, I just hope you've kept the receipt. Maybe? Yeah, I bet we've all had that conversation with people, haven't we? And yeah, not to be ungrateful, but yeah, seriously, Wargaming, I hope you kept the receipt. And I don't like it. I just don't like it, I'm afraid. There's probably people out there nodding their heads in agreement with me, saying, yeah, it's crap. I don't like it either. And there's probably enough, as many people shouting at the screen saying, what are you on about? It's great, it's awesome. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Mine is that I don't like this. What I feel that they've done is, in terms of performance, taken quite a solid little tier 3 light tank and made it rubbish by putting a gun on it that is just unusable. Most of the time, unless you either sit right at the back and keep your fingers crossed that the hand of Stalin will reach up from the depths of hell and guide your shell to its target, or you go full on YOLO and just go straight up to somebody so that you cannot miss and hit them in the side. Now, it's not quite enough damage-wise to actually one-shot a lot of things, so you are going to have to take 2 shots, and while you're reloading, that's the time that you're probably going to get your ass kicked. And yeah, I just don't like it. Anyway, yeah, they've just ruined it. It really shouldn't play up to tier 5. It really needs, and I mean this, and I don't say this very often, it needs preferential matchmaking, because in tier 5 you are there to die. That is it. You are more or less completely ineffectual in any way, shape or form in a tier 5 match. You can't scout because your view range is shit compared to the tier 5s. And again, I don't mean to be negative or anything like that, but Wargaming, do you not like us? Do you not like your player base? Because this tank makes us feel like you hate us. And yeah, I mean, its view range is bad. It's a light tank. It's tier 3. It's not going to have like a 400-meter view range. But it's a Russian light tank, so its view range is even worse. So when you are in a tier 5 match, everything outspots you, and your armor piercing cannot pen unless you get right round behind them and close. And because your HE is low damage, because it's a little tier 3, I've hit the front of a Stug. The tier 5 Stug, is it the 3G? I hit the front of that and did 0 damage. Now HE, obviously the way it works, you hit the tank. If you don't pen, it takes half the damage off straight away, and then takes damage off for each millimeter of armor. Yeah, I hit the front of a Stug and did 0. I've also hit the front of other tier 5 tanks and done 0 damage. So in a tier 5 game, like I say, I just feel you are there to die. In a tier 3, it can be quite fun, and I've found that the most fun is to just not take it seriously. You just can't, because I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Let's just get into the stats. Right, 76mm howitzer, 12.5 rounds a minute, 38 pen and 164 average damage. That is on your HE rounds, the standard rounds HE. 37 pen on your armor piercing with 110 damage. The armor piercing, just stick with the HE. It's got higher pen and it doesn't bounce. So just, yeah, stick with HE. Quite a bad aiming time at 2.4 seconds. And horrific accuracy at 0.6. The gun kind of reminds me of a tier 3 KV2, but no fun. You've got a decent hull traverse though at 46 degrees, which is nice, and a fairly decent turret traverse at 40 degrees. Although again, I do find that frustrating, because as you're trying to turn your hull and track a target, your turret can't keep up as you turn in your hull. That is quite annoying at times. 290-meter view range, which is fairly low for the tier, to be honest. And a 300-meter signal range, which again is about average for the tier, but is very poor nonetheless. Supplies wise, 38 for your high explosive, 30 for your armor piercing. Equipment, I've put vents, I've put gun lane drive and coated optics. You are limited to the equipment you can put on this, and they were the three that made the most sense. Coated optics, because you really need to out spot everything, because you have no armor to speak of as well. It is quick, don't get me wrong, it is quick, but I felt that the normal BT-7 had the edge because it just had a better gun, I'm afraid. Skills wise, well, I've not put a dedicated crew in it. This is my T43 crew that I thought I'd train up a little bit more. And I've got Sixth Sense, Repairs and Situational Awareness. I would say Sixth Sense definitely, Camouflage definitely, Situational Awareness definitely. Other than that, to be honest, I would not put a dedicated crew in it because it's a little tier 3, just like these two don't have dedicated crews. I put whatever crew I feel like putting in it at the time, whether it's a decent crew because I feel like having some fun, or as you can see in the BT SV, it's you know, a poor crew because I'm training them up. So, but if you are putting a dedicated crew, the three skills that you would definitely want: Sixth Sense, Camo, Situational Awareness. Right. Let's have a look at the modules. Well, 500 horsepower engine, which is good, with a fantastic power to weight ratio of 37.31. So, you know, it's fast. Nobody's disputing that. It is very fast. Forward top speed, well, technically 51.26, but we'll just call it 52 kilometers an hour. And a reverse speed, good reverse speed of 20 kilometers an hour, but a 20% chance of fire. It's a fairly small engine. However, it sort of, you know, if you are wanting to set one of these on fire, that's where you want to be going for. More or less above the two road wheels at the back there, so that's where you want to be hitting for the engine, but you do only have 220 hit points, so we have one BT-7A cannot one-shot another BT-7A. The gun, you've got a decent elevation of 25 degrees, but quite a poor gun depression of -5 degrees, which is a bit frustrating, I must admit. Fairly decent ground resistances though, 0.8, 1 and 1.9. Turret on top, where we would expect it. Radio in the back of the turret, in that, well, not quite in the bump, just sort of just in the rear bump on the turret. Ammunition blocks, well, they're just underneath the turret, right above the second road wheel back, and that's on both sides. So if you want to hit the ammo block, that's where you want to be aiming for, in the side of the tank. And crew members, just 3. We've got the driver down in the front, and then up in the top we've got the commander and the gunner. The commander, I'm assuming, will double up as loader and radio operator as well. Armour wise, not much to speak of here. There are really no weak spots. The whole thing is a weak spot. It's a tier 3 light tank, so you can't really expect a lot of armour on it. 20mm on the front of the hull, 15 on the front of the turret, 19 on the side of the hull, 15 on the side of the turret, and then 13 on the rear of the turret and the hull. Again, I've had the odd lucky bounce on this, but it is very lucky, normally when I'm disappearing back over a ridge, that sort of thing. So there's not really anything to speak of. Armour wise, it's just, that's it. Very easy to pen. You're not going to have any difficulty penning this in any tank that it will see. And if you are in this, your only defense, don't get hit. Simple as that. Well, I say simple as that. That's not always simple, but yeah, don't get hit. That's your best defense. Concealment, 0.28 stationary and 0.21 on the move, so it doesn't keep its concealment bonus either, and its concealment is slightly low for its tier. There are a lot of tier 3 light tanks that have a lot better concealment than that, and they do keep their concealment bonus on the move. Some don't, some do. But yeah, concealment, not bad, not brilliant though. There are, like I say, better light tanks down there. Now, it's bonuses, just before we get into the replays and see how it, well, see if I can give you some tips on how to use this properly. You get a 30% silver bonus and a 60% XP bonus. And again, I'm just being honest with you. If this is the only tier 3, you know, if this is the only premium Russian tank you've got, yeah, use it for a crew trainer because it'll work. However, if you have others, don't. And again, I'm going to be completely honest, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but the Blitzen was a decent, fun little tank. This does not seem to be. This just seems to be frustrating. And like I say, the Blitzen sees up to tier 5, but you know, it's hard work, but you can make it work in a tier 5. This seems nearly impossible to make work in a tier 5. So if you're listening, Wargaming, give it preferential matchmaking, please. Because otherwise, this is just going to sit here in my garage with no crew in it after this review, and no equipment on it or consumables, and gather dust. I will not even use this as a crew trainer, I'm afraid. I will use the T127, the BTSV, or anything else apart from that. Because, you know, when I'm crew training, I at least want to have a bit of fun, because it is laborious. Sorry, yeah, I'm just looking at the... well, I mean, on the plus side, though, on the positive, it does look quite nice. I mean, I say it looks nice. The detailing on it is very well. It does look like it's been rotting in a field for 50 years. But the detailing on that is quite nice nonetheless. So, yeah, it does look nice. And when you put your camo on, it shows through there. So it does look like a tank that's been through the mill a few times and, you know, sort of got stuck in there. So yeah, detail wise and the look of it, very, very nice. But I just really think that gun kind of ruins the whole tank. It's sort of counterintuitive to how the tank should be played, to how you play that gun in a way. And like I say, performance wise, I feel they've taken a very solid little light tank and made it bad. But anyway, like I say, let's get into the replays, see how it handles. Right, now this bit isn't a first sort of proper replay, but it was my first match in the BT-7A, and it was just to show you how ridiculous the matchmaking was in it. And it's not much better for this one either. There's quite a few of them in here. It's a tier 3 match, thankfully, and this is not me playing, this is actually my good lady wife. I really don't like this thing. So, you know, she doesn't mind it, she thinks it's quite fun, so she stepped in to play it. And it's kind of like, you have to play it sort of about 20% seriously and 80% I don't give a shit. Seems to be the way to play this tank, because if you try and play it properly, the accuracy just trolls you, and if you go full YOLO, then you'll probably die very quickly, and it is just a case of practice, basically. And a tier 5 match, honestly, I've got nothing. The armour piercing are just nowhere near good enough to pen most of the tanks at tier 5, apart from side and rear, and even then it's going to be 50-50. And the HE is the same, not quite powerful enough to really pen anything, at least not reliably. I mean, even around the side and rear of a lot of these tanks, you'd be struggling. I mean, an M4 has got, what, 38 on the rear? So that's at 50-50, and that's from up close, penning one of these. So... and with the HE doing such low damage as well in a tier 5 match, like I say, I've had 0 against against quite a few targets in tier 5. And I know there's some people out there will probably think I'm being quite. I mean, I'm being a little bit negative because it's a free tank at the end of the day. But I just feel a bit let down by it. I expected something fun, and I just feel that they've taken that away. And I feel the gun is the problem. You know, it either needed to have a bit more oomph to it, or something, I don't know. And it reminds me a lot of the Gross Tractor, actually, but I'd rather have the Gross Tractor. It's not as fast. The Gross Tractor is not as fast, and I don't think its rate of fire is quite as good, possibly, but the gun's better. It has a choice of ammunition, so if you do get into, anything that's quite well armoured, you do actually have a bit of something to hit back with and be competitive. It's got good gun depression, in fact it's got fantastic gun depression, and the gun is more accurate as well, and it gets preferential matchmaking, so it doesn't see tier 5. And I think I think that is probably my main issue with this. I think if it had preferential matchmaking I wouldn't be so hard on it, and I could even get on with that gun, but it's just not fun in a tier 5 match, not at all. And yeah, I know that again there'll be some people out there that saying I'm being negative on it just because it's a free tank and obviously you don't have to pay for it, but it's not the point. That's not it. If this was a tank that we had to pay for, I would be just as negative about it. And but yeah, she's come out of that match quite well. 3 kills, 816 damage. But a lot of the time when you see these BT-7As on the list at the end, they're averaging, you know, there's the odd one that's actually doing well and maybe getting 5, 8, 900 damage a match. You know, 900 and this is doing really quite well. But most of the time with these BT-7s, you'll see them on the team list at the end with 150, 200 damage. You know, maybe 250, and 300 seems to be if they've had a decent match. So yeah, I don't know what it is about this tank. Like I say, I feel the gun is the issue and is counterintuitive. I mean, this for people who've sort of skipped the garage review. I just feel it's kind of counterintuitive to how the tank should be played. And I mean, to give you an example of, you know, I've said, oh yeah, you know, the BT-7 in terms of performance is a decent, solid little tier 3 light tank. I mean, it's tier 3 at the end of the day. It's never going to be, you know, spectacular. But to give you an example, the Tech Tree BT-7, I got through it and got an ace tanker on it in 4 games. That was it, just 4 games. I thought it was great fun, solid little gun, good, you know, and again it's got really good power to weight ratio, great acceleration, good top speed. But it can't, I don't know, I mean, it can use those to get around the battlefield fairly quickly and to get up to things, but firing on the move in this is, well, you never generally hit unless you're right next to them. But yeah, it's, I mean, you, in a way, and I know this is really going to rustle some feathers, but in a way I'd rather, for its sort of left trigger, you know, instead of aiming in and looking down the gun, I would rather it actually had an artillery view. Because I've found that I barely use the aiming thing on it, because it just seems to miss. And the way I play this is try and avoid shots, get a few shots in where I can here and there, while avoiding being seen as much as possible until it gets towards the sort of second half of the game, which is not normally very far in a tier 3 match. I mean, look, we're at what, 12:30, well, 12:30, approaching 12.5 minutes, so we are 2.5 minutes in and the match is about over. But it's you know, it's good for one-shotting damaged tanks towards the end of the match, and you know, it's got good manoeuvrability and everything else, but it definitely needs preferential matchmaking with this gun. Now, there's not much left to do. Mostly Raseiniais. In fact, yeah, the thing I've enjoyed the most about the BT-7 is the fact that I now have a reason to drive my Panzer IIJ. And the, you know, the one that's got the sort of tier 5 heavy armour, the little tier 3 light tank. It's like just Fort Knox. Every time I went in that, I'd always get in tier 4 matches, and it's pretty poor in tier 4 matches because it just doesn't have the pen. And since these have been out, I've been getting tier 3 matches all day long, and the BT-7A barely does anything to it, if anything at all. In fact, I've got a small spore liner on it, and I think I got hit by one the other day and it did 0 damage to me, and that was with an HE shell, so that was quite fun. But this is kind of how I play it. I try and sneak up on the, you know, the enemy tanks, or get towards them by just sort of ducking and weaving and trying to throw the shots off. Get up close and just bang an HE shell into the side and hope it kills them. But both of these replays are actually my wife playing, because I just don't like it, I'm afraid. And now there's just a T-46 left up in the cap circle, and the last 3 tanks are moving in. Can we get a shot? Or can she get a shot, should I say? Just, and of course it went over. Just a case of getting closer, I think. Hopefully without dying. Nope, the T1E6 PS finished him off. And that's the match. So I know you were going to hoping for me to give you a few tips on playing it, and that's basically it. So half properly, half like you really don't give a shit, and just keep your fingers crossed and hope and pray that you don't get into a tier 5 match, because there isn't much you can do apart from a little bit of active scouting and going after the lower tiers. So if you are bottom tier in a tier 5 match, just try and go after the lower tiers as best you can, and just do what you can that way, because the tier 5s you've just got no chance with half of them, unfortunately. But there you go. Anyway, I'll be back in a bit with another video, so until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.